Welcome to this week's episode of Leader to Leader. We're talking with UWF's own alumni, Ron Jackson. He is the past president of Saltmarsh, Cleaveland Gund from 1990 to 2015. Insights into what great leaders do, how they communicate, and mostly tips for those future leaders that are up and coming. Take a listen to his insights, learn, and enjoy the conversation between Dean Rick Fountain and Ron Jackson.
Ron, you'll be so pleased the next time you're able to be on campus that our new leadership team, the new chairs, and it's not any reflection on the other folks, but I see a more external operation where the dean is out cultivating and trying to get stakeholders more invested, not just as donors, but as curriculum advisors, things like that. So Allie does a super job, and I think one of the skills she has is to try to rein me in. We would have 7 or 8 or 10 initiatives. You were on the selection committee, and the list of responsibilities the provost put on my page, I just had my annual review. He said, "Man, that's a lot of different goals you have." And I said, "Well, those are the ones you gave me." But I think that it gets easy to, I love coming to work every day, and I'm so humbled to have this opportunity, but we have a whole team over here of leaders. I don't have any doubt that people that we have in different jobs can take over and lead any project we're doing. And I think that's the goal. I think that's like a proud father. I see Ron nodding, and you look at the people you brought along in your firm and you've mentored, as you didn't hire those folks and move them into opportunities to lead because you thought, well, they'll get to a certain peak and then we'll just stop them there, because we all want what we try to build to be sustained. And
yes.
When Ron retires, Saltmarsh can't make it. I mean, that's never been your goal, and that's not my goal here. So I think to your question, Allie, is one thing I think as a leader I need to do a better job is communicating, and you really work hard to help me do that, how we communicate. And Ron, you didn't talk about communication, but in the early roundtables we had, leaders talked a lot about communicating. And we were specifically looking at when the pandemic hit, what were the first things you did? And virtually every leader we talked with was they needed to communicate. They needed to make sure their people were safe. So now I got off topic there a little bit, Allie.
But let's talk a little bit about communication, because Ron, I don't know how your office is, if everybody's back, if you're full on, but everybody feels a little bit disconnected. And again, we're kind of in a bubble here because all of our restaurants are open and things like that. That's not how it is across the United States. So can we talk a little bit about communication, and how can we, from your experience at this point, how can we, lessen the gap of feeling disjointed as employees specifically? What do you think?
Well, communication is extremely important, but along with communication, and we touched on this, is listening to your people. And I'm going to circle back around the culture. Don't let me forget to talk about that, because that is very important to me. And this kind of dovetails into it. Communication is important. And in this world where people are working from home, the frequency of communication, I believe, has to increase. But it can get to the point where you're doing a video conference once, twice, 3 times a week with folks to try to get information to them and make them feel connected. When really what you need to do is give them some mechanism to communicate back on how they feel, what they're feeling, what are their needs. A lot of people probably have need for human contact because you're just working away, office, and if you happen to be a person who's single, you're just working away in your office. You never interact with people, and you miss that human contact that we seem to have put on the shelf here for the last few months.
Yeah.
But along with the frequency of communication, which needed to increase as a result of moving out, so did the frequency of listening, giving people a forum to communicate back and forth with not only management, but also each other. So that has been a major challenge, and I think will be a major challenge going forward, because our world has changed, and we will continue to work remotely to a great extent. Our office is open, and people are allowed to come back in and work in their office, and we have a mixed bag. We have some folks who went out to their home and worked remotely primarily and came to the office when needed, and now that's kind of flip-flopped to a lot of people coming back in the office and working from home when needed. So it's a mixed bag, and I think we're going to continue to see that mixed bag and more people working remotely. Maybe not every day. They can now fulfill that need for face-to-face communication and human contact and so forth and so on by coming to the office. But I still think that communication is a two-way street. You've got to listen. You've got to listen to the people who are making the factory run, if you want to look at it from that perspective. And this kind of fits into culture. What's your culture? I learned early on in my time in management here that you really needed to define your culture, determine what you want the place to be about, what you want your company, your firm to be about. What are the core values as a company? Define what you're doing for clients and how you're doing it, and what the kind of code of conduct is. How are you going to treat people? So really spend some time as an organization determining those things. And when the group, not just the head of the firm, but the group determines the values and I'll just say the culture, the whole ball of wax. The group determines what that is. They're going to be more willing to live that culture. And when you get that established within the firm, and I used to go into staff meetings, and I'd say, okay, here's $20, put it on the table. Who can name our core values, or who can name X that comes into our culture? And if they can repeat it without looking, they get the $20. You'd have to use 50 now, inflation. But eventually, as time goes by and you keep reinforcing those values, the whole ball of wax of culture, it becomes integrated into your organization, and it really helps in decision making. If you're willing to put up with someone who walks the halls and rants and raves and disturbs everyone and just makes everyone scatter, if you're willing to put up with that, if you merge someone into your firm and that's their mode of operation, how's that going to fit with your culture? So it makes decisions easier. You get to know someone that is a candidate, or a firm that is a candidate. You see how they operate and how they treat their employees. You compare that to what you have and what you've defined as your culture as a group. You can make a merger decision in a short time. You don't have to waste a lot of time digging into the numbers or analyzing documents. You have that initial test that'll pass, move on. So it makes decision making a lot easier.
So you're pulling together a lot of things that we teach in business. Strategic planning, the core values, the mission statement, always revisit it. It doesn't come from the leader. You need to have it come from everybody. And by the way, we're going to start looking at that in the College of Business, right, Rick? But because it's business. So as you were saying this, and I was thinking this as you were saying this, did you always know that you wanted to be a leader? Did you always know you wanted to be in charge?
No.
No.
My goal was not to be in charge. My goal was just to be a successful CPA in practice, and I didn't really have, aspirations of being the leader of the firm. Certainly not at age 36. I was elected president of the firm at age 36. I felt like that I was not ready for that challenge. Didn't particularly understand why I was put in that role, but I spent a lot of time trying to figure it out.
Well, that was just last year, though, wasn't it?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, just checking. And I'm interested to throw that over to Rick as well. Did you always want to? Because some people do. Did you see yourself being a leader?
Allie, I like to think I always wanted to be a team player, and I think that's part of being leaders. You have to be a team player, right? Climb up. But I think early on in practicing law, I didn't think I could do it necessarily better than the managing partners that I practiced with, for example. But I thought, given a chance, I wouldn't mind stepping in, and I thought I had the patience to listen to other folks. And some of the leaders I first started practicing with, it was their way or the highway. And they were listening, and they didn't consider change or any adaptation. So I think maybe I started wanting to be a leader fairly early on. And I hesitate to say that because I wouldn't want anyone to think I did that because I thought I would be better than they were. But I just thought my style may allow us to accomplish some things collectively as a firm that we weren't necessarily doing. We would have a lot of people leave. They would take clients. And lawyers are, they're more like marriages than CPA firms. Y'all tend to be a lot more stable than lawyers. You've represented lawyers, so I think you know what I'm talking about. But a lot of times firms will have a long-lasting, long-standing name, but they've had a lot of reiterations of that as people would pull out. And I think many times it's because someone thinks, I maybe wouldn't be a better leader, but it might be a better place to work with what I could bring. So I would say early on in my career, after I made partner, I started thinking that it may be as much fun to be a manager of the firm and help direct where we went as a law practice and those sorts of things, that would be to be the trial gun or this or that. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Rick, you touched on something very important. You said you were always just want to be a team player, and that was my view of my role for many years to come in the firm, was to help people, help in that decision-making process, and just be a resource and an asset, not the managing partner, particularly. If I ever had a thought that I would be a managing partner, it would have been in the last few years of my career, where I was just simply, at age 55 or something like that, or 60, I would maybe serve as managing partner for a couple of years, but never at age 36.
So if you, Ron, would tell your age 36 self a little pearl of wisdom, I love using that, pearl of wisdom, what would you tell your 36-year-old self? What pearl of wisdom have you learned?
Show more confidence, be more aggressive in going after different ideas and concepts. But I think it took me a while to gain the confidence I needed to have in the role. And I had some good people that came along and mentored me. Some were consultants, but others were just members of our association. And, I had an issue, I knew who to call for assistance, and that gave me a lot of confidence.
Rick, what would you tell your younger self, a little pearl of wisdom, if you could look back?
Gosh, Ron did such a great job with that, but I would say to be confident in your decisions and not second guess yourself, even when people are beginning to follow you. Early on, it's easy to lack a little confidence, Ron, because when people senior to you with more experience seem to be going along, I think human nature is this a trap? Are they just being nice? And so I think to keep your own counsel sometimes, instead of trying to make sure you please everyone and that everyone tells you that, but to be open to listening to them. So I think that would be, have confidence in yourself, but never, you and I have this conversation. I expect the people that work with me to be very quick to tell me when they agree or disagree, or have a different thought, a different avenue we could take. So I tell a 36-year-old, you don't know everything, and so listen, but do have faith that you were put in that position because people that had a lot of experience and knew you thought you were there. So don't overlook that. Don't lose your confidence. I like the way Ron's answer was really wonderful. So, and he's had a life well lived as in that firm. Their largest, I think, firm headquartered in Florida now.
Yeah, I think so.
I would say keep learning. So that's my thing, is it kind of goes with saying, but keep learning, keep striving. Why are you laughing, Rick?
Well, you are exactly right. That's the correct answer too. I mean, lifetime learning is extremely important. And if you get to the point where you think you know all the answers, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
There's always something new to learn.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's a good answer.
You don't need a team if you have all the answers. I was laughing. Early on, I was talking with Allie, and I was trying to drive, go to the post office, have a meeting, and she called on me on a it wasn't a Zoom call then, and I think I finally admitted I don't have a clue what we're talking about. Can you break me in the loop? And so I was kind of laughing about that.
Oh yeah, because that was on one of our roundtables. That was like when we were like this one, that we were talking to all of the leaders, and I was just reaching out, to my leader, and here he was picking up. But here's the thing, though. What you're missing is he was picking up the mail for the College of Business. That's what he was doing. So the dean is over there picking up during COVID when nobody, Rick was over. So that's what you missed, Rick, is that you're picking up and trying to do, and, nobody knows what was going on behind the scenes. So
I have to share with you, when I walked in and I was distracted, I don't think anyone picked up after the pandemic. We probably hadn't picked up our mail in a few weeks, maybe a couple of weeks or longer. At least. There were several boxes, and I went in. One of the postal workers said, "Hey, you're the head man over there, aren't you?" I said, "Well, I'm the dean." And he said, "Well, Doc, welcome to the real world. I come to work." So I really appreciated his attitude. He said, "Let me carry, you're the dean. Let me carry this to your car for you." I think having a little fun that he was the dean, and it was hard figuring out where to get the mail. I'll be honest with you.
Well, Rick, that speaks volumes. The fact that you're dean, and you could have sent someone else, but you didn't hesitate to get your hands dirty and do whatever task needed to be done to make it successful, make the workplace successful. So I think that speaks volumes. Character, your willingness to do whatever needs to be done as part of the team to make things happen. That's extremely important. And that's a small thing that you really shouldn't be doing, but still, there's a message in that.
Yeah, and that was really at the time where we were not on campus, and it was all of that. But yeah, I called him out and didn't realize I called him out. I would have never called him out, but I probably covered it up okay.
I remember people couldn't come to campus early in the pandemic, so I had to have them to come. And I was worried about the mail, and that was one of the things that I knew there might be some important mail, because when you just shut down, I mean, we've had hurricanes. You have had this when you least expect it, y'all have to pull the plug and just hope you get prepared the best you can to so you have continuity of business when the firm opens back up. But I really was just trying to make sure if there was something important that I could get it and try to get it to the people in charge. So, but I was trying to do two things, and Allie called me out, and I did not have a clue.
I'm good at that. But I'm also good at covering up, because I probably, didn't say anything. Anyhow, we're getting off topic, and it is kind of funny to reminisce about it. So I think we're out of time. Rick, what is one thing? Let me call him out again. What is one thing that you would like to ask Ron?
Well, Ron, this is very personal, but are you really ready to retire?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I am ready to retire. I have turned over clients to other people, and I'm working 4 days a week now. And yes, I think I'm ready to go. I have a lot of hobbies, and I have some grandchildren and things like that. I think I will. I think I will enjoy life. I've been working. I told somebody the other day I've been working since I was 12 years old. I'm wearing out, but yeah, I'm ready. I think people have a feeling when it's time. I think I'm there.
Yeah.
Well, you have a lovely family, and I've had the pleasure of sitting with you and your wife at UWF events, and I know that y'all will enjoy your family and your time. And I would be remiss, this is off topic, but one thing Allie likes to do with these is say we're building a time capsule of what happened, and I think I'd be remiss. You and I have a fellow Rotarian who's meant a lot to this town that passed away this morning.
Yes.
I think that for posterity's sake, we ought to say that we appreciate what Mr. Appleyard did for this community, and that was a huge loss.
Absolutely. If there was ever an example of what someone should do to participate in the community, to be valuable to the community, and to give back to the community, just look at Turner. That's just a fine example. Good man.
Absolutely.
Thanks for bringing that out.
Enjoy your retirement. I hope you won't be offended if we don't think you're fully retired, that you could still help us out some with different things we do. And when we call,
I intend to be fully engaged in the community. I think I still owe a lot back, and intend to continue doing a number of things in the community. So feel free to call me.
And thank you once again. The spirit in the bow tie is showing through and through. So we do appreciate that. Thank you again for your time. I don't really like using the word humble, but I am humbled to be in the presence of the two of you. So I appreciate all the insights, and I hope everybody learns from them, and we just do better, and we're kinder when we do better in our culture. So thank you both for that.